Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Welcome into the show presented by First Community. We thank our friends over at First Community for all the support of Hockey Sense each and every week. It's our Friday tradition. Live from the Half Coast Studios. Great to have you with us. Big show today. Following a loss last night at home to Winnipeg, and now it looks pretty bleak for the St. Louis Blues. If it didn't look bleak before, it certainly does now. And so now we are almost there. We're almost to the point now with Hockey Sense moving into the playoffs and obviously into the months of May and June. We start really focusing on the NHL draft, and we'll be sure to do that throughout the course of the show each and every week. So again, if you're into the draft, if you're into prospects, all that type of stuff, we'll get into that here on Hockey Sense, and obviously still follow very closely the Stanley Cup playoffs. But again, Canister Podcast will be all over the Stanley Cup playoffs as well once we get into the first round. First round, nothing better than the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, baby. Blues lose last night 3-2. They made it close. They were down 3-1. Parayko scores about 7 minutes to go in the third period. Great save by Jordan Binnington right before that. And I thought, oh, man, this could be a story now. Binnington makes the big save. They go down, get the goal from Parayko, and now they're down by a goal. Was it Snuggerud who drew the penalty? Or Jake Neighbors? Whoever it was late in the game. They had a power play with just over 2 minutes left. I didn't love the power play last night. I don't think anybody would. I can guarantee you the players didn't, and the coaches didn't, and management didn't. When you get one shot on goal, I think in 4 power play opportunities, then that's obviously not good enough. And I didn't know what the plan was at the end of the game. I mean, do you call a timeout right before that final power play in an effort to get organized? And this is the difficult decision-making process, I think, for a head coach in the NHL, because you never know, like, do you hang on to your timeout? When do you use it? But do you, right off the bat, say, hey, here's the plan. We're going to pull the goaltender. We're going to go 6-on-4 here and try to draw something up that can get the puck to the net and hopefully find a way to tie the game up. But I don't know what the actual plan was going into that power play, but they eventually did pull Binnington. But it was too easy of clears and exits for Winnipeg, as you didn't have a defenseman on the wall. I mean, it was a I'm talking about trying to keep the puck into the offensive end. So anyway, just a strange sequence of events, I think, down the stretch of regulation. And the Blues weren't able to tie it up, and they really never had solid possession or were able to create enough possession and, get Winnipeg on their heels and open up some opportunities to create some scoring chances, whether it's seam plays or down low or in the slot or whatever, point shots, whatever it is they were looking to do, they weren't able to do it. Disappointing that they weren't able to do more on the power play. So that was tough. I did like Colton Parayko's comments because he was asked after the game about what's it going to be like to get up for these final 4 games of the regular season. And he said, listen, it's a privilege to play in the NHL and to put this jersey on. And I've always been proud to be a Blue, so it won't be hard for me to get up and play and be a professional. That's what I want to hear. That's why these guys are important to have around the organization, to pass that message on to the younger players who are coming in to the organization over the course of the next few years. They're going to have all these prospects eventually coming here. Between Jiricek and Carbono and Kaskimaki and Stancil and Pekarsik and all these guys who are down there right now. Who knows? Maybe Quentin Burns even finds his way to the NHL one day. You never know how this is all going to play out. Who's going to pass down those lessons to the younger players of what it truly means to be a Blue? Now, I think Braden Shen did a great job of doing that. I think Colton Parayko has certainly understood that. He's learned that from other players. He came in, obviously, at a time when you had players, veteran players inside the organization who understood that. And so now a guy like Jake Neighbors, I think maybe he's the guy who passes it down. Robert Thomas passes that down, and we'll see what the rest of the team looks like heading into next year. I don't want to be too dramatic, but there's only 2 more home games left. And there is a possibility that Jordan Binnington, I would assume he'd play in at least one of those 2 home games. And there's a chance that that is his final home game as a member of the St. Louis Blues. It may not be. He could very well be here next year. But I think everyone understands that Joel Hofer is probably ready to truly take on the role as a number 1. And as long as Binnington's here, I think it's going to be more of a 1A, 1B. Hofer starts every 2 out of every 3, maybe 3 out of every 4, whatever it looks like. If it's 3 out of every 4, he's probably a number 1, right? But to pay a goaltender $6 million to not be the number 1 probably isn't in the cards for the Blues. So we'll see how that plays out with Binnington. I'm not making any predictions here of how that's going to be, but I would say that there's always that possibility that one of these next 2 games, next Monday and Tuesday, that these are the it's a possibility that's the final time we see Jordan Binnington in a Blues uniform at the Enterprise Center. Iconic St. Louis Blue. As iconic as they come. I mean, you look at iconic players in Blues history, and there are a lot of them. Going back to the Plagers, obviously, and the Federkos, and the Sutters, and the Halls, and the Shanahans, and the Curtis Josephs, and, Adam Oates, all these guys who are iconic. Some stayed longer than others. Oates wasn't here very long. You don't get any more iconic than Brett Hall or a Bernie Federko or an Al McInnes or a Chris Pronger. But I put Binnington right up there. And I would think down the road, when it's all said and done, when you consider he is now the all-time leader in games played for the Blues as a goaltender, wins in Blues history, what he was able to do to represent St. Louis on the international stage and obviously winning a Stanley Cup in 2019. He is an iconic St. Louis Blue who should receive the highest recognition when it's all said and done. Some would say Alex Pietrangelo should have his jersey retired, and others would say, well, he lost that when he elected to move on and go play for Vegas. I think if you look at the next Blue to have their jersey retired, I think it starts with number 50 for me. Even ahead of number 90, if you want to go there with Ryan O'Reilly, if you want to go there with Alex Pietrangelo, and that's fine. I'm all in favor of giving those players the highest level of recognition at some point down the road too, but I think it's got to start with Binnington. But he has a long way to go. Binnington does. And he's not done playing. This guy has a number of years left in his career. So we'll get there eventually. And maybe, he ends up staying here in St. Louis. Who knows how it's going to play out. But I'm just such a big fan of the person that Jordan Binnington is and who he's become, really getting to know this guy. And that could be potentially a little emotional as we get into next Monday and Tuesday with Jordan Binnington. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section here tonight. The Blues have gotten to this point where they could maybe sniff the playoffs down the stretch, primarily because of the goaltending led by Joel Hofer, who's been unbelievable down the stretch. You look at the way they've defended the evolution of Philip Broberg, who is truly the number 1 defenseman on this team right now, and how good he's going to be down the road. I mean, I wish I could fast forward and really figure out how good he's going to be. He doesn't get tired because he skates so well. If you look at all these defensemen over the years who play big minutes and don't seem to get tired, like a Scotty Niedermayer comes to mind. It's always these guys. Jay Bouwmeester comes to mind. Quinn Hughes comes to mind. Zdeno Chara comes to mind. It's always these guys who, for the most part, skate really well. And you may not say Chara skated as well as these other guys. Different type of skater, but he was just so unbelievably conditioned and so smart. Chris Pronger, the Al McInnes is, again, incredibly conditioned athletes. Nick Lidstrom. These guys could all play big minutes. But I think Philip Broberg's that guy. Because of his skating, he can play big minutes. He doesn't seem to get tired. He is truly the number one on this team. And the next step is going to be for him to improve as a power play guy. To me, he's a second unit power play guy. I don't look at Philip Broberg as a PP1 guy. To me, he's more of a power play 2. You look at the dynamic power play 1 guys in the league today, and I hate bringing up Makar and Quinn Hughes and Matthew Schaefer and some of these guys because they're like on a planet on their own. Lane Hudson's another one. But you almost need to have one of those guys if you really want to have a true dynamic power play. You got to have somebody up top that can operate things. And I think Broberg can certainly get better. I love the fact that they've kind of turned the keys over to him and given him that opportunity to get that experience of running the power play here the last several weeks. But is he truly a power play 1 guy? That's the next step for him, in my opinion, is to establish more of an offensive game. We all know that he can skate. We all know that he can slice and dice through defenders. And because of his skating, he gets up the ice so quick, he beats guys up the ice, and he gets a lot of grade A quality offensive chances just based on his skating and his length. And he can handle the puck. He's a skilled guy. But again, you want to see him start finishing on a lot of these chances that he gets because he gets a ton of offensive chances. And just that production isn't quite there yet. He's a 30-point guy. Can he eventually become a 50-point guy? I tried to ask Doug Armstrong that a couple of weeks ago. And Army even said, I'm not going to put that pressure on him. But I think maybe he misunderstood the question because I was bringing up Makar and Hughes and some of these guys. And I'm not suggesting that he's going to be a 90-point guy or an 80-point guy or a 100-point guy, as we've seen with some of these guys, like the Eric Carlsons of the world. But can he be a 55-point guy? I mean, in my opinion, and Chris Pronger told me this years ago, back when he was playing, that if you run the top power play, if you're a number 1 power play D-man in the National Hockey League, you should automatically, just by being on the power play consistently, game in and game out, you should finish the year with no less than 40 points and automatically be in that 40 to 60-point range. And I totally agree with that. And so that's the next step for Philip Broberg. He's got so many tools. He's going to be an unbelievable player. He's just getting started. You forget how little of experience he has just because he's on the ice so much and he has such a big role on this team, but he's still young, hasn't played that long, and he's only going to get better. So I look forward to seeing his development. He's been a great story throughout the course of the season. And so has Logan Mailloux. You know, we were pumping Logan Mailloux's tires early in the season. And prior to the season started, going back to training camp, and just based on one of his, some of his teammates were saying and coaches about how excited they were to see him be in a Blues uniform and see what he could do. And playing him with Tyler Tucker the first handful of weeks of the season, probably not the best move. If you had to do that over again, that's probably not your third pair. I think you find a veteran to put Mailloux with, and they eventually did. He played a long time with Cam Fowler, had some ups and downs with Fowler, but he's really taken off since he began playing with Broberg. It's no different than Theo Lindstein, who I love it how Doug Armstrong put it when he was on with us. Hey, you don't even notice him. That's how good he's been. You don't even notice him on the ice because he just doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, obviously. He's not at the scene of the crime. He's not costing you. He's just making the right play at the right time. But last night I saw him close in on somebody on the wall. I'm trying to remember who it was from Winnipeg and how quickly he got there. I think it was Kyle Connor. He just got there so quickly. He's an unbelievable skater. But again, playing with Parayko since he got here has proven to be very beneficial for him. And going into last night, he was plus or even in 13 of the 14 games. I didn't see what he ended up being last night. But we'll go back and check that out with Theo Lindstein. But Logan Mailloux had a nice little toe drag. We're starting to see him evolve. His offensive game. He's gotten more points. I love how he kind of floats around the offensive zone. He's not afraid to go deep into the offensive zone and be aggressive that way. You see him below the goal line all the time. But Um, I don't know what they were doing on the power play last night either. When he was on the ice, just nobody was occupying the wall, anticipating a rim coming around, and they just couldn't keep the puck in the zone. So that was not great. So again, the big question is moving forward, is Philip Broberg a power play one guy? And maybe Adam Yarosek becomes that guy. Saw him dancing at the blue line in an OHL game the other day for Brampton. They're now into the second round as they swept their first round opponent. And I would imagine they're going to go deep. They certainly are a strong contender to win the OHL championship and advance to the Memorial Cup. So maybe he becomes their power play one guy. For a while there, remember, Alex Pietrangelo wasn't a power play one guy. Throughout his time here in St. Louis, Kevin Shattenkirk took on a lot of that responsibility for a long time here with the Blues. So he doesn't have to be a true elite number one, although most elite number ones around the league, you see them operate the power play too. But I want to see Broberg, Mayu. I like what we saw, and you get a vision of what they could be and what they will be moving forward. What is Dylan Holloway's next contract going to look like? I know they weren't on the same page early in the season, and why would they be when you consider Holloway had some injuries, he didn't get off to a good start, he was not producing early in the season, and now he is. So he gets to 20 goals last night. What do you pay him? You pay him as a guy who's going to be 30, 35 goals when he hasn't gotten there yet? He scored 26 last year, 20 this year, wasn't able to stay healthy. Health was a little bit of a concern with Holloway just based on his track record. He's got to show that ability to stay healthy consistently, year in and year out. Be healthy. But there's no denying his talent, man. He is an exceptional hockey player and one of my favorite players to watch. I love how hard he works. If you're a young hockey player, focus on 81 and just see how this guy's feet never stop moving. He's a big, big player, too. He's strong, way stronger than he looks on the ice. And so he separates guys. He comes out with the puck. He can hit. He can play physical. He gets to the front of the net. And obviously, he's got a great shot, and he's skilled, too. So we'll talk about some of that stuff coming up with Jamal Mayers later in the show. We're going to talk some USA hockey and go around the league a little bit, too, with Don Granato, who's a friend of the show, obviously most recently the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo's now into the Stanley Cup playoffs, but we'll focus on Team USA a little bit, too. He's going to be the head coach for the World Championship team as they look to repeat, as they head off to Switzerland. I would imagine Jimmy Snuggerud's going to get a nice opportunity to play for Team USA, assuming he's healthy. I do want to say this because the Blues have gotten zero secondary scoring. None. Whether it's Buchnevich, Kyrou, Neighbors, pick whoever you want. And I know Jim Montgomery last night tried to separate that line. My guess is just trying to get some type of balance and get some guys going. They need some guys to put the puck in the net, and they just haven't been able to find that secondary scoring at all. So that's unfortunate. You need more from Buchnevich. You need more from Neighbors. You need more from Kyrou. I mean, Kyrou is your highest paid player. He's a 3-time 30-goal scorer. You expected him to come in and be in that range once again, not fighting just to get to 20. I think he's got one goal with a goalie in the net since the Olympic break. I think that came back on March 8th. He's got a couple of empty netters. Had a nice pass to Parayko last night. He is getting some points. He'll get some assists here and there. But he's not having those multi-point games. He's not getting the 2 goals and 1 assist games. He's not getting the multi-goal games. And he's just not coming through with the offense from a goal-scoring perspective when you need it. And I think we may learn something about Kyrou after the season. And who knows what his future looks like here in St. Louis. Listen, I'm not going to pretend that it's a guarantee that any of these guys are back, to be honest with you. Who knows how that's going to play out? It's going to be a very interesting. I think this is the most interesting offseason. Buckle up, Blues fans. And this is the most critical, one of the most critical, and certainly going to be one of the most interesting off seasons in recent Blues memory. I mean, they're not that far away. And a couple of tweaks here and there and adding a player here and there and what they choose to do with all these first-round draft picks, who they bring into the organization, who they're able to go get in a trade if they are going to move on from some of these guys. Listen, this could dictate what this team looks like, what this organization looks like now moving forward. And we're going to bring Tom Stillman into the studio, too, after the season, assuming he's available, and kind of pick his brain on some of that, too. So I don't know what's going to happen with Kyrou, but I think you will learn that he'll probably need some type of procedure after the season. I don't think he's been fully healthy either. People don't like to hear that. They're not going to want to hear that, but I think you'll hear that he's probably going to need some type of cleanup when the season's over, and I'm sure there's other players that are going to be included in that too. All right, so First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week here live from the Half Coast Studios. They got that new Tesson Ferry location. Always want to tell you about that. First Community. They already have over 40 locations in Missouri and Illinois, including branches all over South County, but now you got great news. Tesson Ferry, the branch is moving. Just moved, actually, I think this month. Not far, just across Tesson Ferry Road. It's right next to the YMCA. You can't miss it. It's completely remodeled, full-service branch. They've got the drive-through, the 24-hour ATM, all of it. So look for it. Complete list of branches and hours. Visit firstcommunity.com. You can find the branch nearest you. And stop by the grand opening on May 2nd. May 2nd, stop on by if you live or work in South County. First Community has got you covered. All right, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Bad weather is on the way. You know that. That's what happens in the spring here in St. Louis. Put this number into your phone. Call David Novak. Get that free estimate. If you have some damage to your home, let's hope you don't. But if you're looking for a new roof, siding, gutter, soffit fascia, whatever it is you're looking for, call him, 314-920-5713. Let David Novak come out and service your property. He can do commercial stuff too. 314-920-5713. Blue Note Roofing, David Novak. Look for the big yellow truck with the blue note on the side of it. You can't miss it. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. David Novak, proud sponsor of what we do here on Hockey Sense. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app today. They've got so many great deals on the app, they call them steals. So download the app, find the location nearest you. If you live within 10 miles of a Dirt Cheap location, you get free delivery. Use the promo code BluesHockey. You get that free delivery and get all those great deals. Don't sleep on the party supplies, all the paper goods and all that. If you've got any type of parties coming up, graduation parties, end of the year parties, St. Patrick's Day just passed, Easter just passed, whatever it is, Valentine's Day just passed, there's always something happening each and every month. Get all your party supplies that you need from Dirt Cheap. You probably didn't know that. They got the best beer, wine, and booze, but also check out the party supplies and get everything you need there from Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Lordo's Diamonds, lordosdiamonds.com. Been around for 70 years. It's all you need to know. 314-432-8008. Call Mike and Jimmy Lordo today. Stop on in. Say hello. 314-432-8008. Best selection of engagement rings, best customer service. You can walk in with a $100,000 budget or a $100 budget. Same customer service. They treat you exactly the same. So get in there and get in there today, right there next to Truffles in the heart of Ladue. 314-432-8008. Say hi to Mike and Jimmy Lordo, Pat, everybody over there, Cindy. They've got the best staff. And find out why they've been in business for over 70 years. And all our men listeners, listen, they got a great selection of chains, watches, all of that. So get something for yourself too. Not just for that special lady in your life. You can get something for yourself too. But graduation gifts, you got sons or daughters who are turning 16, 21, whatever, any of those special anniversary type situations you're looking at, check out lordosdiamonds.com and do it today. Easy Tiger Cannabis, easytigeraz.com. Get to the website. Get some of their gear too, by the way. They got awesome gear, like hoodies and stuff like that. They're not gimmicky like some of these other cannabis companies. But if you're dealing with pain, if you're having issues sleeping, if you have any type of illness and you're looking for some relief, talk to an expert at Easy Tiger Cannabis, and they can certainly help you out. And they deliver too. Easy Tiger Cannabis. Look for it now nationwide. It's been available in Arizona. They're over there in the Phoenix area. But now Easy Tiger, the brand, is going to be coast to coast across the country. So look for the logo, Easy Tiger. AZ.com is the website, and look for it in a dispensary near you. Top shelf, full-on potency, best quality. They are top shelf when it comes to cannabis companies. Easy Tiger AZ. Check that out. All right, Don Granato joins us next. Jamal Mayers later on in the show. You're not going to want to miss it as we continue on with Hockey Sense here at Half Coast Studios. I'm Andy Strickland. Thanks for hanging out. All right, Donnie Granato. Everyone knows the Granato name. We used to say Tony's brother, but now I tell Tony he's Donnie's brother because And
You know what? You know what?
you were Cammy's brother.
We're Cammy's brother. I mean, let's just cut to the chase.
That's so true. Is she still in
and that's
Vancouver?
okay.
She's still in Vancouver?
She is, yeah, yeah, and I can only imagine the challenges there.
I know.
I don't talk hockey with her. We don't. We just we don't even we don't go there. I over the years I've said the same thing. Don't ask me about hockey questions. Let's just relax.
I would have a hard time in your family, Donnie.
You would not. You would not. You'd be locked outside.
I'm like,
You
Cammy,
would.
what's going on
You
with
would. It'd be Andy. Andy, shut up. No, I'm not saying a word. I'm not telling you that, Andy.
Where's
Yeah.
Patterson going?
Yeah, that's a question I wouldn't ask.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. And Tony obviously is doing a lot of television, right? I mean, he's
He's been doing a lot. He's really enjoying it. He's a guy that, like, these guys as long playing careers, they have energy, they have passion for their team and teammates. He went into coaching. You still get some of that in coaching, although not like you do when you're playing. But he's found that in the TV side of the business, and he's doing Blackhawk games. He's doing a few LA King games. He's doing about 10 to a dozen of those, and NHL Network. So he's, unfortunately for him, he's still bouncing around and traveling a lot. But he loves it, enjoys it, and obviously, as you know, you've got to stay on top of things. You've got to put a lot of hours in.
I got to ask you this, because earlier in the season, I was in Madison, and you and Tony helped get me and my son tickets. My son was playing a weekend of hockey games up there, and I saw Wisconsin play Michigan. Michigan loses last night in the Frozen Four. Wisconsin gets to the national championship game. They beat North Dakota, so they're going to take on Denver. It should be a great game. I didn't know going into the game that Wisconsin was at that level. They beat Michigan the first game of that weekend. I don't think they won the second game, but they won the first game of the weekend. And I was like, wow, this is a pretty good team. Like, is this like a shock? Is this a surprise, or were they expected to be this good?
Well, I mean, they were ranked in the top 10 plenty, I think, through the year. I mean, their rank now going into this event was 12. I think because one weekend late season stumble. So they've been, I don't think anybody that's played them and been tracking. I mean, you're tracking the NHL 99% of your time anyway. But I think people that have watched college hockey, this is not a surprise. They've had this potential, maturity, and and you get into these one game situations. It's it's dynamic. I guess it's dynamic. I mean, you think about an NHL playoff series. If it was a one game, you think of the number of teams that win game one and then lose a series. They would have just eliminated star teams. So such a different way to present the trophy or to go after it. Obviously, with 50 plus college teams, you got to do it that way. But no, I think they're legit. They've earned the right to be there, and I don't think they've upset anybody on the way.
Yeah. And basketball is the same way. It's a one game, right? In a national championship game. So football obviously is the same thing as we see in the NFL anyway. But basketball is a one game. Hockey's one game. So you're right. Anything can happen. What's the longest game you ever coached? I couldn't believe when I got home from, I was working the Blues game last night against Winnipeg. I couldn't believe the Denver game was still on. I saw Denver tie it when I was still at the rink. And I had been home for a little bit, and I checked to see what the final score was, and they were in the fifth period, right? Second to overtime.
Yeah.
What's the longest game you've ever been a part of?
One long one that comes to mind. I think there were two long ones. One in the ECHL finals, Peoria against Louisiana. That was double or triple overtime, and then the same in Worcester when I was working for the Blues. We played Providence in a game 7. Dwayne Rollison was in net for us, and I think that was a double overtime game, but a heartbreaking goal. Jeff Panzer scored a goal that we would have gone up 2-1 with like 10 minutes left in the game. The referee blew the whistle early. He was in the corner of the rink. Panzer was poking at the puck and it went in. The ref couldn't see it. Panzer's celebrating, so we have it all on video. He's literally celebrating, and he waves off no goal. So I give it to the ref pretty good about, hey, you can't blow the whistle from the corner of the rink on those plays. and get to the net, and obviously through some explicit, I wasn't that nice, right? So lo and behold, 2 periods later, overtime, very similar thing happened where it's a goal line play. The ref's in the corner. Rollison, as a veteran goalie, feels I've got the puck frozen, but the ref doesn't blow the whistle. He's skating from the corner to the back of the net. And Rolly's looking over his shoulder like, shit, do I not have this thing covered? Like, why is he doing this? So he opens his legs and turns, and it's poked in the net, and they win in overtime.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you talk about like that. That's coaching because I got on him for the same thing that caused him to wave off Jeff Panzer's goal, and then it burnt us because he delayed and it forced Rolly to open his pads. You talk about coaching lesson. That's the value of coaching lots of games in lots of situations and scenarios.
Yeah.
Because those things never leave you. You realize that if you push this button, there's going to be a negative effect as well as a positive effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing. I think when we sit on the sidelines and we evaluate coaching, I don't think we ever consider that. If you go after, this situation this way, yes, one positive will result, but what could be the repercussions down the road or even immediately?
Yeah.
And that is the tricky part.
Hey, listen, before we move on, what's your take on college hockey right now? I mean, with Gavin McKenna obviously coming over, making money. You got the NIL thing happening. You had some other, stars from the CHL come over to college. The college hockey player is older now than it seems like it's ever been. Like, where do you see things going? Do you like the direction of college hockey right now?
Personally, I actually love it. I was in college hockey in 2016 with the Badgers. I couldn't wait to get back to pro because I thought it was just too slow. Example, I took the position in April, April 1st. Luke Cunnin comes into my office, and I had him at the national team program. He says, "Hey, coach, can we do some video?" I said, "No, we can't. It's against NCAA rules."
Really?
For me as a coach to do video in April, May, June, July, August, and even early September, I couldn't do anything with the player coaching wise. So that's 5 or 6 months. You sit there and you don't do anything as a coach. That's an awful feeling, right? So I couldn't wait to get out of college hockey then. Now I look at college hockey and it's like pro hockey. Every player is a free agent. You're the head coach, but you're also the general manager. So you've got to stay. Yeah, it's a workload, but you've got to stay on it, and it's dynamic. And I love that aspect of it. Guys are always on tryouts. The negative is you might lose a guy, he might go in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
The positive is, to keep him, you got to perform. Or you can replace guys if they're not performing. There's no long-term contract. So very dynamic. I find it reminds me a little bit of the East Coast League where, you've got to motivate players. You got to keep them motivated because you're going to lose them. They're on the cusp of quitting, and they're not. They're on their way. They've been on their way down, not up. So you've got to motivate it. You've got to keep them, focused and believing. And then obviously high turnover, short-term contracts. So it really is it's a laboratory for learning right now, and it's dynamic and it's fun to watch. You're getting high-end players because of that. What they've done with Canadian Junior. You mentioned the players that have come over. So it really is a dynamic time in NCAA hockey, and I think it's great hockey.
Do you think, like I was asking Jay Pandolfo, it's been a couple years since I asked him this question. Celebrini was actually still at BU when I asked him this question. They just don't have the resources from an NIL standpoint. It's never going to get to the level that we see with the big boy sports like football and basketball. But like, where do you think it'll go? Like, if McKenna is truly making $700,000, I'm curious if you think he really was making that much. No one really knows what he was making this past year. Like, do schools have the funds and the money to pay hockey players?
Yeah, that is probably the biggest concern. It's how is this going to hurt hockey? And obviously, these programs are driven by football, so their livelihood is football. It's the moneymaker, and it's the attraction to the university from an athletic standpoint, anyway. So Yeah, the athletic directors have to be committed and have to commit some dollars to hockey, and probably more than the hockey program is going to generate. So it's tricky. Yes, I think we'll lose some of the teams that's because of this financial situation or burden. And I can only hope the top teams like Michigan and Wisconsin, Minnesota, all these schools actually do put NIL money forward for hockey.
Yeah. And those are the Big Ten schools, man. They just seem like they're gonna have to drive the bus from that
Yeah.
standpoint. And hope we bring it up with some of these.
If we
Uh,
if we don't lose programs, I think that that would be the big concern for me. I think as long as we don't lose programs or don't lose many, I think hockey's going to be healthy. So what if somebody has more NIL money for you? It doesn't mean they're going to win.
yeah.
It doesn't. And if you believe it, it's your fault.
Yeah.
So you can get good players, and you just got to get them going, especially players that age. There's a lot of raw talent that you can do things with. They're young guys.
Yeah. All right. So Don Granato, longtime coach, been coaching for what, 30 years or whatever. You're going to be the head coach of the USA men's team for the World Championships, looking to go back to back in Switzerland. We'll get into that here in just a minute. I got to ask you some NHL questions though, because now we're down to the wire. It's going to be really fun as we get into the playoffs, and everyone loves the first round of the playoffs. Cole Caulfield gets to 50 goals. I don't know how far back you go with him. He was a USA kid, obviously, Wisconsin kid. Are you shocked to see him score 50 goals this early in his career? He didn't make the Olympic team, but he's fun to watch,
Yeah,
man. This guy can score.
yeah. I mean, we're watching Celebrini do it as a young kid too, so I'm not shocked. Pleasantly surprised, I would say. I played with his father, so far as going way back, his father Paul and I played USHL together. So obviously I've known Paul and followed the two boys that he's had in hockey. Uh, Both played at Wisconsin. And I know Tony's very close to Cole, having had him at Wisconsin, and has stayed in touch very closely through his career. So great family. But no, he's a goal scorer. His father was an amazing goal scorer, unbelievable. And he played Division III hockey. Easily could have played Division I and should have played Division I from a skill and standpoint. But he was an amazing scorer, so I think it's in the genes. And he loves to score. I think all of these guys that do what Cole's done and score 50, they love to score. I used to tease some players that I had on the US team that are now in the NHL. I'd ask them just to tease them and get them thinking. I'd say, hey, they grab their attention and say, hey, do you love to score? And they obviously, what player on your team isn't going to tell you yes? And I would reply back, I'd say, no, you don't. You love the stick handle, the toe drag or the pretty goal. And, the goal scorer is just, they just want to put it in the back of the net. It's not, sometimes it's barred down and it looks like they are just so in tune to putting it in the net. It's not about picking a 1 inch by 1 inch spot. Where when you see players that shoot over the net or shoot the goalie's gut, a lot of times they feel the pressure, adverse pressure, negative pressure of having a perfect shot. And Cole's mentality, he's had the goal scorer mentality and feel his entire playing career. So this is, to me, no surprise. He has that elite attribute.
It's interesting you said that, because whenever you see a goal scorer struggling in a slump, where are the shots going? They're going right into the crest of their jersey, right? They're shooting. They're not making it difficult on the goaltender. Where you know when they're on or when they're confident in scoring
Yeah.
goals, I mean, they're picking the corner and they're just fighting the
And I
spots.
would say the best goal scorers, there's a lot of guys that are goal scorers, but let's separate the best because they're more consistent.
Mhm.
And I say that consistency comes from they never stop working, trying to figure out a better way to move a goalie, or how can we score against this team, or what's the pre-scout, or I think the guys that score goals and go into those slumps would more fall, and I'll categorize. I'm not thinking of anybody specifically, but they would be like, I always say, that there's certain guys that score 3 goals, and you're like, okay, he's not going to score for about another 3 weeks.
Mm.
He's kind of happy he scored the 3. He's in between. He's not saying I got to score the next one. Um, and I've also seen one thing too. Guys that come in and they say, "Hey, I've got a goal. My goal for the season is I want to score 30 goals." you know, I mean, I think that's okay, but it also shows you as a coach, you're worried about scoring 30 goals. Those are the guys that when they miss 3 chances, they're like, oh, you know, in the back of their minds, like, do I have to settle for 27 now? No, I don't want to settle for 27. If I think of like Brett Hall, one of the greatest goal scorers there was, he was never worried. Like he just wanted his next goal. That was it. He wasn't looking for like his body didn't look like he's looking for 82 or just give me the puck. I want my next goal. And I think the greatest goal scorers, that's the separator. They're always hungry for the next goal. They're not resting on their laurels that they just scored 3 or 5 in 4 games or something.
I know, although Brett Hall would say that he would have nightmares about never scoring again or, not being able
Yeah.
to score. This guy was just so driven to score goals. Tarasenko, I used to have great conversations with him about what he's seeing and like, if he's skating to his left or skating to his right, he would just know which direction the goaltender he's coming with him and you shoot away from where the goaltender was. You don't shoot to where the goaltender where he's going. You shoot to the area where the area of the net that he was occupying that now he's leaving exposed. Like you got to outthink the goaltender, he would say. And so smart, shooters and goal scorers kind of have that ability in real time to be able to think like that and process it in real time, which not everybody can do, Donnie.
No, totally agree. And I saw one player last night with time, a good young player, get a puck, take a shot, and you knew the defenseman was closing in on his side, almost his blind side, but he knew he was coming, and it was stick on puck. Now, if you watch a guy like Connor Bedard, he's already calculated the defenseman's stick is going to come into play probably right on where my puck is now.
Hmm.
So I'm going to actually move it 2, 3 inches inside his stick before I release the puck. And then still, I know the spot I want to pick in the net, but I still have to move it around the defenseman's stick. So I'm going to wait for him to commit as well as the goalie committing. And, so there's so many nuances, intricacies to it that you can pick up that separate just, and I can tell you those two players, Connor Bedard and the other guy that I'm referring to, that I won't say who it was, and they probably shoot the puck at the same velocity, right?
Mm,
In a practice with no defenseman stick there, they probably pick the corner the same way.
yeah.
But when you have the in-game elements, Bedard, Tarasenko, as you say, are factoring all of these in real time.
I can read your mind. I know when you're talking Austin Matthews, Donnie. I just feel it, I just.
He's injured, so there's so many other guys that are playing right now. But
I know. Hey, let me ask you this though. Because I hear other people say it, and you've coached obviously at the national program with all these guys that have become NHL stars, but in the NHL too, you see young players come in. Do you feel like hockey sense is lacking with the player that's coming into the game? Do you feel like there's too much specialized training? Even my kid at 9 years old right now, they go to this, skills training. They go to this power skating. So they've got skating coaches, skills coaches, these kids that come into professional and the college level, they've got the nutritionists, they've got the strength coaches. Like everything is so specialized, but the hockey sense, the ability to have feel for the game and to think the game and process it, is that lacking, or do we make too much out of that? How do you see it?
well, I would say this, Andy, if it's lacking, it's our fault as NHL teams because you can only give 5 guys an opportunity on the ice at a time. You can only draft 7 guys by average by an NHL team. So if you're drafting just straight skill guys, and you're going to the combine, you're making measurements and analytics, and it's all, and there's no, there's more things being emphasized than the intangible hockey sense or intangible competitiveness, right? And drive. Those are intangibles. So the measurables have gained way more strength, I think, through analytics and through analysis. And we're spending more, draft picks on with a focus on that. We're giving opportunities in the NHL with a focus on that. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I also would say the speed of the game is picked up. I say when I watch a game, the NHL is, if I'm going to describe the NHL, honestly, it's frantic. It's frantic. Like it just, to your point, when I worked with young players, at the NHL level or the national team program, um, you should play the game at a speed you can process. So if we're forcing this pace that half my team can't process at, it's going to be a greater challenge. It just is.
That's going to be frantic, right?
That's frantic. It's just watch the game and think how frantic the NHL is. And you'll see it instantaneously. Get a puck, crank it in, and give it back to the other team, or hope you forecheck and it can just. And you actually had time and space, or you enter a zone and you don't evaluate whether you have back pressure or no back pressure. If you have no back pressure, you don't need to get rid of a puck right away. If you have back pressure, you still don't need to get rid of it right away. The better players will draw two players to them away from where they're going to put the puck. So, it's just little things that you can work with guys that are high volume repeatables in the NHL that really help and need the players need that, and they want that. But yes, you're right. Skill coaches. The other thing is this: nobody is going to get drafted without skill. So the emphasis at the youth level should be this skill development. It really should develops, because I don't care how well the player knows, systems or the game. If he doesn't have skill, he's not getting drafted. So I don't think anything at the younger levels should really change. The skill coaches, I think, do an amazing job. One player in all this discussion that we are all on this topic that we're talking about, Andy, is Matthew Tkachuk. We know he's not a great skater, but how effective is Matthew Tkachuk in the NHL? Now, his intangibles are hockey sense that we're talking about, and compete, and just a relentless compete. So he's always competitive. I can't tell you how many NHL scouts called me worried about where he was rated in the NHL draft. Like, worried. You watch him for 10 games, 12 games, whatever it is, 15 games, but you're watching kids all over the globe, and you're trying to calculate this young kid, Matthew Tkachuk. So they would call and want me to give them something, like, it was almost like they're waiting for something negative, because they were worried about, oh my God, this guy might not be able to play in the NHL because he's not a great skater. He doesn't have the athletic attributes that you've spoken of. And I said to them, here's what I'll tell you. I've had him for 2 years. I had him for 2 years, because this is when he was in London, was his draft year. So teams were calling me the year later. And I said, I had him for 2 years. We played against the best kids in his age bracket in the world, or a draft earlier. And I said, never once in 2 years did I ever have to bring him in, or did I ever make a clip of something he did wrong or a mistake because he couldn't skate. He never put himself in that position. Never. So he never over forechecked. He never chased a hit. He never got on the wrong side of the puck and couldn't recover. Never gave up all his momentum and couldn't recover. Just a highly intelligent guy. And obviously these are things you can work on with players. So to me, I had no worry about him, but I could see anybody being nervous when you got one pick in a first round, and you're thinking you've got 50 players or say 6 players going through your head. It's hard to pick kids at that age.
And they were saying this about Matthew Tkachuk when he was 11 years old and 12 years old and 10 years old, right? That's people always tried to pick that apart with his game. Can hockey sense be taught? Because a lot of old school hockey people would say, no, you can't either have it or you don't. I'm just curious your opinion.
That's a tricky one. I wouldn't say it could be taught. I think you can teach in the game, though. Again, high volume. One thing that's massive in the NHL and massive in NHL development for players is situational awareness. Think about it. Before your shift, you're sitting on the bench as an NHL player. Well, you're going to hop into a situation immediately off of that bench. And I'll give you a quick example or visual. If it's the second period, it's very difficult for your defenseman to change. Mm-hmm. It's a long change,
right,
as we say in hockey. So if you're a forward, you should be aware of, okay, how long have my 2 defensemen been on the ice? What does the momentum look like in this last shift? Is it favoring us? Is it favoring the other team? So I'm going on that shift with a sense of objective and a situational awareness. We need to shift the momentum. It's just been in our zone. The situational awareness, our D need to get off. So everything up and down that rink, offensively transition, defensively transition, presents, situations. It may look random. You can pull consistency out of it. And you're more working with players uh from that perspective. I think hockey sense is more of a poise, finding an inner calm, studying the game and knowing the game yourself. Um, but just as athletic skill, there's varying degrees. I think you could do that, but you're still not going to have the hockey sense of Wayne Gretzky,
I saw.
right?
Yeah.
So
So Matthew Kachuk, he was I think he was like named like the slowest skater in the league, like fewest 20-mile-per-hour bursts or whatever it is. When you're scouting him
well
prior to
said.
prior to him coming to the program,
Yeah,
was there ever a concern about that? Like I think
zero.
like
Yeah,
like
no.
Patty Maroon's similar. Doesn't produce nearly as high as, I mean, Matthew's a 100-point scorer in the league.
Yeah,
So different
no,
situation. But
no.
like, who else? I mean, you don't see too many players like that. Like, can you get away with not being a great skater or a fast skater? I mean, he is he the exception, or should we not judge players who don't skate, 1,000 miles an hour?
No, he's definitely not the exception. There's plenty others, and plenty others in the league. And I'm sorry I can't think of enough quick right now, but
Mhm.
there are. Um, a couple of things. It was easy to pick him at the NTDP because it's the NTDP. It's a hell of a lot more difficult if you're sitting at a draft table, with a general manager that's counting on you to pick a guy, and you're going to have to hand him off to the coaching staff that's going to have to believe in him too. I mean, that's where a lot gets lost in the NHL. NHL coaches do not see these prospects. They don't see their success. When they get them, they've never seen it like the scouts have and the managers have. They may not even know the complete identity of the player,
Mhm.
and they don't really need the player at that point. They've got Patrick Kane or the veteran players filling the key roles on the team. So in the NHL, as a coach, it's much easier for you to see how a young player is going to cost you the game than how he could potentially win you a game, right? And you also know he's playing against the most experienced players in the world. You can see up and down the rink where he's missing, that experience. So you have to be willing to work with that. You have to, as a coach, and it's not easy. But back to the Matthew Kachuk as an example. Yeah, I could see where it would be very challenging because of what I just said. In so many respects, to pick a player like that at the draft at the NTDP, you know, um, no, it wasn't a concern. We signed him early. He had enough other attributes that for me as a head coach, I was drooling to work with him.
Mhm.
Because of the talent he brought.
All right. I want to close with the USA World Championship. So you're going to Switzerland. You're going to play against Switzerland in the first game, who USA beat in the gold medal game last year. There was such a big moment. We didn't really maybe process it as much at the time. I know it had been like 100 years or whatever it was since USA had won gold at the World Championships, but it was such a great stepping stone that led us into the Olympics and obviously winning gold. So coming in now, like after winning gold, it's not about pressure, but it's more about like pride. I mean, this is such a great opportunity and a great time to be able to play for USA Hockey, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I hope that's, we're hoping we put this team together, which is very tricky because guys have had long years and, it's been a grind of a schedule since the Olympic break. That there's that pride that guys say, hey, this is a team I want to be on right now. The women's team gold, the sled team gold, and obviously we all know the men's team. So great time. I'm honored, obviously, to be part of USA Hockey at any time, but whoa, what a special situation it is. And then obviously to be defending the championship that they won last year at Men's Worlds. There's a lot to it. But at the end of the day, you got to take that 20 guys you get them excited to play, give them some simple concepts and systematically, so they can go. And it'll be fun for me, obviously, to get back at it. It's different than coaching in the NHL because it's a short event. You only have these guys for that little bit. But it's always fun to get players from different teams and in different areas and, be involved in hockey with them.
Do we know who your staff is yet? Like, who are your assistants?
We're very close on that. We got a couple guys committed already that we haven't announced, and we'll wait for the whole staff to do that. But it's and players are similar. Players are tricky because there's a lot of teams in playoff races now. So Brett Peterson is the general manager. He's the assistant general manager with Florida. He did it. He's done this a couple years in a row now. So yeah, you can talk. Some people talk to you about their players, but you've got to be patient and respectful to the teams playing and guys playing right now. We'll put all that together pretty quick once the NHL regular season ends, and have an announcement, I would say, within a few days after.
And players who make the playoffs on teams who are playing in the play, I mean, they lose in the first round. I mean, you could still potentially bring guys over, right?
The hope is we will, because the first round will end 15 days before the first game.
Oh, okay.
So there's plenty of time in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while everybody is, pushing urgency, let's hear the lineup. Let's see the lineup. It's really hard to do that and counterintuitive to do it and rush into a lineup because you've got 8 teams, of potentially American-born players on those teams eligible to play. So it's hard to recruit a guy and say, and players want to know where they fit in on the team, and that's one of the things it doesn't matter what team you're running. It's one of the first things going through their head is, okay, where am I going to fit in on this team? Should I sign this contract now, or should I go to this team as a free agent? And we don't have that information because we're probably going to be bringing players in after the first round. So that is an added challenge as a management staff, because again, these guys want, you can't. I always say you can't promise, but they want that type of insight. Where may I fit in here?
Yeah, yeah, of course they do. And I get it. So, Donnie, great stuff, man. Best of luck there. And listen, you're selling Switzerland too, so that's part of the selling point. So it's you don't have too many better places to go to than where you're headed now this year too. So that should be a lot of fun and just another opportunity to represent USA Hockey. So, and your former player Tage Thompson obviously got the game winner in overtime last year. Just and probably helped him, establish himself as a guy who was going to be on the team. He had a huge role on the Olympic team too. So all the best selecting the team, and hopefully we get you on again. If not before the tournament, we'll do it afterwards. So best of luck over there.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. And same to you.
Okay, we'll be in touch, Donnie. Take care.
Sure, bud.
Thanks, man. Jamal Mayers back in the house. One of these days, we're both going to be in studio at the same time. I don't know when that's going to be, but it's going to be a few weeks from now. But we'll make it.
It will be in a couple weeks.
Yeah. I'm excited for the playoffs. How about you?
Yeah, it's almost like you're like, some teams don't want to get in. Some teams you're like amazed that got in. Biggest surprise that got in so far for me from the beginning of the season to now, Pittsburgh Penguins.
I love it though.
Yep, pretty cool.
I love it. There's something about Crosby being in the playoffs, Malkin, Erik Karlsson. There's still room for veteran guys to lead their team and make it. I love that. So I hope Pittsburgh does well. I've said that when I was kind of screaming for Sid to leave Pittsburgh. Like, you can't just go the rest of your career without making the playoffs. You got to get in the playoffs. The NHL needs Crosby in the playoffs, but so it's great to see him get in with Pittsburgh.
I agree, 100%.
Can you believe that? And I just put this out there the other day. I'm just fascinated by it. The fact that Detroit would trade their first round pick to the Blues for Justin Falk, completely unprotected, Jamal. Like, they're going to miss the playoffs. The Blues could have a super high pick now from Detroit in addition to their own pick that should be relatively high. Because who knows how this lottery is going to play out. Listen, I'm not going to be too hard on Yzerman, but if I'm an owner, it's that's a fireable offense. You just traded our first round pick. We're not making the playoffs, and you traded the first round pick, and you didn't attach any protection to it. It's not top 10 protected, not top 5 protected.
Yeah, I get it though. At the moment, there's no chance they would not make the playoffs.
But that's why you do it. It's like no different than like Toronto and Boston. You know, it's like Toronto only gets the pick if, or they don't get the pick if it's in the top 5 or whatever, because Boston still made it top 5 protect. You just kind of do that. You don't
I
see
think
too,
you just protect it. I think you're right. I think you protect it from being a top 10,
yeah, always.
and then that way you're covering your bases, and the guy you're making the trade with, I would think would be like that. I understand that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just think you just do it anyway. So, because it's like it's funny because the Blues got the first round pick from the Islanders for Shen, which is actually Colorado's pick from like the Brock Nelson trade,
Yeah,
but it's like top 10 protected. You know, even though Colorado will never finish, it's going to be probably the last pick, if not one of the last picks, obviously in the first round. But
yeah.
they
They
still
just clinched the
protect it.
position.
You know,
Right.
I
Good point.
just yeah, I just think you have to do that. So anyway, that's where we're at with the Blues. How hard is it? You've been on teams that were out of the playoffs down the stretch, last handful of games. I love Colton Parayko's response last night. And again, they're not officially eliminated, so they would certainly need some help, and they can't afford to lose another game if you're the Blues. But obviously, the chances are very slim. But I love how he was asked that question last night. How do you get up for these last 4 games and whatever? And he's like, "Well, it's a privilege to play in the NHL, and it's a privilege to put this jersey on. So I know for me, it won't be hard." I just love the answer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
great answer. I think players fall into 3 categories. You got a group of players that are getting ready for the playoffs, so the motivation is real. You want to convince your coach I should take actually more ice as these moments get bigger. You've got another group of players that are fighting to get in the playoffs, and they're close, and their organization's there. And then you got another group of players that are out, that the organization is making some determinations. They're making some decisions on their roster based on these last games, and you have to decide: do you want to be a part of their solution, or you want to be one of the guys that they get rid of? So
Mhm.
each different stages, different teams, different players have different motivation, but there is no lack of motivation at this time of the year.
All right, so I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you're working with San Jose right now, but who gets in? You have LA, not a very good team, Jamal. I'm sorry. They've got how many regulation wins do they? Are they still at 19 right now? Regulation wins.
Yeah, they gotta fix that.
Like they're in overtime every game. I watched them play live. They just don't do it for me. But who knows? They're currently occupying the wild card 2 position. So LA, Nashville, Winnipeg, San Jose. Who's getting in?
Yeah, I think don't sleep on Winnipeg, but I think that it's gonna be Nashville.
Do you? Yeah, they played one more game than everybody else, but they really can't afford to lose any more games either.
But it's weird. Like 3 weeks ago, I've been saying LA, and the
Mhm,
reason being, you got Kopitar sitting there. It's his last year.
mhm.
There's plenty of motivation for the entire team to like
Play for this guy.
will
Yeah.
find a way the last 10 games to dig down and get in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's them, but they 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 haven't done it, and been saying it for 3 weeks.
Is it weird for you to see Jonathan Toews in a Winnipeg jersey? Because it really wasn't earlier in the year, but yesterday it was. Maybe because we were
It's a
at the
thought.
Enterprise Center, and I've seen him so many times play in that building for Chicago, and he scored a goal last night. It just that's weird to me.
I think it's weird. Yeah, when any player that has played on a team for more than like 15 years, and then you see them in a different jersey at the end of their career. No one remembers that Bobby Orr played for the Blackhawks. Like, this stuff does happen. Um, as a fan, it's strange. As a friend, you're happy for him that he's continuing to play. So yeah, it definitely still is strange to see that.
Yeah. It'd be like seeing Kopitar play on a different team, but at the same time, it's like Chicago was in such a weird spot. And same with Taves, that it wasn't a fit that made sense for him to come back and play for Chicago. So,
Oh, it was more surprising that Kane didn't stay
mm,
than for me that Tays kind of, the way that circumstances happen, his play, his health, it kind of helped them as an organization part ways with him.
you think he wanted to stay, Kane?
I think he would have.
Yeah,
But
I don't understand how guys like that just go. Who's your MVP? Who's the Hart Trophy winner? Is it for me? It's Cooch. Who are you giving it to?
well, if you asked me a week ago, I would have said Celebrini. I still think he's a finalist because this team would not be relevant playing meaningful hockey in April without him. I don't think he wins it without getting into the playoffs. That likelihood is dwindling in front of our eyes, although it's still possible. McKinnon is a good argument. I feel like the team is so good that it's going to hurt him and his chances. So I would agree with you. I think teams that surprise Kucherov with the tear that he went on for 51 games. I think he had like 106 points in 51 games.
Oh my God.
And we're forgetting about McDavid.
Oh my
But-
God, I know.
And I think what's probably even more impressive and helpful for McDavid is the fact that, his running mate, Draisaitl's been out.
Yeah.
So he's doing it on his own. So it'll be interesting. I think one of those four are going to be not a finalist. That'll be a shame.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We almost take McDavid for granted. Yeah, I mean, he was so unbelievable the other night. What is he?
Oh,
At?
you're fine.
133 points or whatever.
He had 5 points, and he could have had 7. Like
Oh, you were at that game, weren't you?
Yeah. I did the game, and so you could see him like the one goal where he scored, it was like a regroup, and the chemistry that he has with Bouchard is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
The way they use the high ice in the offensive zone, Bouch knows where to get out of his way when he wants the puck back. It's pretty special to watch, and it was like back to back for them, and he had better legs than anybody on the ice. It was unbelievable.
Have you changed your opinion on Bouchard? Like, I don't know what your opinion was to begin with, but like, do you view him maybe differently now than maybe you did a year ago?
Listen, he's very similar to, who was it that in San Jose that won the Norris Trophy? Carlson. Very similar in that respect that there's not much defense there, right? Well, you have to appreciate what he is as an offensive defenseman. He set out 90 points. It's unbelievable, like what he is. And so it's fun to watch. He's a smart player. He is a smart player that I don't think McDavid gets to the level he's at right now without him. Because you got to understand, look at McDavid's wares. No offense. Like, it might as well be me and you out there. Like, I'm serious. Like, he's just working with Bouchard. Like, just give me the puck, get it back.
I know.
I'll get it done without these guys.
Who was the guy when you first came to the NHL? You just could not believe how fast they were. Like, you were like, oh my God, this is the fastest guy I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anyone skate like this. Because you obviously didn't play against McDavid.
No, for me, it was 3 guys that kind of jump off the page. Modano, Pavel Bure, although I never liked the way he played, and Fedorov. Those 3 were like, I always consider myself fast. I'm talking like without the puck. And you were like, oh, I'm not catching that guy. That's strange. So
Madonna but he just had that. I mean, I know the jersey flapping and everything. McDavid just like dances on the ice. He's like, David's faster than all those guys. What about Mike Gartner, for example? Like, he was always considered really fast, but
yeah, it was different, right? Like, he was more of a winger. Back then, they didn't carry the puck to the neutral zone. He would be 100 miles an hour, get the puck at the blue line and do his thing. Mm-hmm. It felt like the centers were the ones who transported the pucks through the neutral zone. And that's why Rodao, for me, sticks out, because he would wind it up a lot more than those other guys, and he'd have the puck more, right? So you're going to notice it more. And he's bigger, right? It doesn't look like he's going as fast. And then you think you're going to angle him and you're beside him and you're like, whoa, he's gone.
It's always interesting to me that a guy like Bouchard, who is not good defensively, you mentioned Eric Carlson, how they just don't ever become forwards when they're younger. Like, you're going to play forward. Like, you got the size, you got this guy, but they put them on D, and that's where they stay, and they make it to the National Hockey League as a D and put up 90, 100 points. I mean, you mentioned the Norris Trophy. Carlson had over 100 points that year.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I think it's very offensive, really good forwards that for whatever reason their coach said, I'm going to try you at D. I think that's how it happens. I'd be interested to ask them, but I would guess at as late as 12, 13, 14 that those two in particular were forwards.
Well, you hear a lot of NHL guys I talk to who played D up until they were 10 or 11 or 12, and then sometimes they switch to forward, you know? So,
yeah, I always find that interesting.
Yeah, same here. Brent Burns, 1,000 consecutive games. Now, when Keith Yandel did it, Cam always had a hard time with this because he just doesn't understand how you can just play that many games. Like you should be blocking shots and you breaking a toe here and there or going into the boards hard. Like, something should lead to you not. It shouldn't be a badge of honor, he thinks, to play 1,000 straight games. You should be banged up. You should be playing hard to where you can't play 1,000 consecutive games. But Burns is like in a different category. I feel like he does play hard, you know?
Yes.
Not to say Yandel doesn't or Phil Kessel doesn't. I could see Kessel, how he could maybe play 1,000 consecutive games. But as a D-man, like, it's almost like, I don't get that.
Well, I think both are impressive to be able to do both. I mean, even for Phil, even for Jans, the same thing. I think what I listened to an interview from Burnsy, and he made a great point. He said the first thing for me is I've had a lot of luck.
He did say that. Yeah, with Eric Johnson the other day, I saw the same.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because he has been in the fire. He has been in the lane blocking shots and had some close calls, and you do need a lot of luck. But he also, I think what I wish he would have leaned into a little bit more is I work hard every day. I have for 15 years. My preparation is unlike anybody else. The way that I treat my body, what I eat, how I sleep, how I take care of myself. I think he needs to, I wish he would have leaned into that for the aspiring 10 to 16-year-old hockey players out there, boys and girls, listening to the dedication that it takes. Because I think he just lives it.
Mm-hmm.
But the discipline that it takes to play as long as he has is probably the most impressive for me.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys who live that, who do block a shot and break a foot too, right? And just can't, you know? So it's like, he said in the interview, he said, like, there's 5 times a game where it's like, oh my God, that was close. Like, just dangerous situations, right? So I give him all the credit in the world. All right, Jamal, great stuff, man. I mean, we'll go longer, obviously, coming up. It's a travel day today, and we'll dig into the Stanley Cup playoffs. At this time next year, we'll know the first round matchups, and we'll really be able to dive into the first round and take everyone through the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that should be a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be, I always love the first round. So
yeah,
tune in. We'll get you set. We'll get you ready. Not likely that the Blues will be in, but hopefully they don't win anymore. I mean, let's improve the draft position here. What are we doing?
Well, now, just there's no sense in winning. Did Will Smith invite you into the book club?
I love the game's changed. We might have had a book club, but we didn't announce it. You know what I mean? Like I need Darren McCarty knowing I've got a book club going with the Blues.
Oh my God, what would you say on the ice if you knew that, those guys had a book club going in Detroit?
We would have got abused, but we would have, listen, we had a book club. I would have said, hey, I read this great autobiography. You want to read it? And then a couple guys, yeah, I'll take it. Like, we didn't have enough, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We read books, but we never told anybody about it.
Yeah, that's ballsy. All right, who brings you to Hockey Sense every week?
Well, first it's Dobbs. You think about what they do for you. Doesn't matter what you drive, the car, light truck, van, SUV, hybrid, EV. And then if you're driving your wife's truck, hitting curves, and I'm taking my car to construction sites, popping tires, like, they'll get your car in. They won't take advantage of you. They'll figure out, okay, this is the tire what's your budget? Here's where you should stay. This is a really good tire. How long are you looking to keep the car? Like they dive into what's really important for you because they're good people. And that's the most impressive thing. We have over 45 locations around town. They'll get your car in, up, fixed, and out the same day. Go to Dobbs.com for more. They have deals every single day.
I love it. I love it. Where's your family going to eat this weekend? You're out of town, so they may not be cooking, Jamal, because you're the cook in the house. So where are they eating?
Well, maybe I'll just ship it to them. I'll just make a phone call and like taking care of them. That's what you do when you're on the road. I don't know if you've ever done that, but you should look into it. They've got 5 restaurants: Bartolino's South, Bartolino's Austria, Chris's Pancake and Dining, Chris's at the Dock, and Bartolino's Twin Oaks. Forge many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family model: cook good food, serve plenty. 50 plus years in business. Only 2 places to dine: at home or at one of Bartolino's family of restaurants.
Wow, that sounds good. Where should I eat in Chicago tonight, by the way?
Ooh, you're heading there tonight? If you
Today,
want
like
Italian,
in a little bit.
if you want Italian, I'll set you up with Prosecco.
We want to. It's our last road trip of the year. So Bernie and I we're talking like, where are we going to dinner tonight? So it's like, give me a good recommendation or two for the Hall of Famer. Also.
Well, listen, if you want unbelievable Italian, I'll set it up for you. I'll call the owner. He'll take care of you. I'll tell him how many guys are coming in. How many are coming in?
I don't know what the group will look like yet.
So it doesn't matter.
Well-
I'll hook you up, and my buddy will take care of you if that's what you want to do. But if you don't want to do that, you just want like top end, like Chicago cuts, always awesome. If you want more trendy, I can do that too. Shoot me a text when we're done.
I will. Yeah, because Friday night it may be. I may need you actually to help us get in. Right? It may be.
My boat is Prosecco's not like downtown. It's only gonna take you 10-minute cab ride. It's not like it's out of the way, but it's not gonna be like.
But they're talking like Gibson's and stuff like that. Like, is that can't go wrong there, or you think there's better spots to go to?
There's better.
Okay. All right.
There's better.
Who puts the in spa?
Well, listen, there are Spas and More's, a local master spas dealer with 2 locations: Sunset Hills in Missouri and Overland Park. Mike Lay, he's the owner. Master Spa is an American hot tub swim spa manufacturer located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. American made. They're the largest hot tub and swim spa manufacturer in the U.S. You know the chili tubs. I'm going to get one. You should get one too. I know you work hard sometimes, but you have athletes in your house. This is what you should be thinking about. Angie Hess runs the show there. She'll take care of you at Sunset Hills location. They offer high quality hot tubs, swim spas, cold tubs, infrared saunas for all of your health and wellness relaxation needs. Turn your backyard oasis into your turn your backyard into the oasis of your dreams with a master spas from Spas and More. Spas and More located at 12957 Gravois Road in Sunset Hills, where we put the
in spa. I may have to get one of those, Jamal.
Dude, I already know you worked a side deal for one of your other 7 programs you got going.
I love it. I love it. Well, you can't blame me for that.
Well, it's just
Everybody wants.
let's let me get through the year before you start trying to poach my my sponsors. But
Okay, I got you on that. I got you on that.
just let it breathe for a year. Once it's installed, you can come over. We'll take a picture and then you can call them.
Oh yeah. Hey, where are you going now? These last 4 games, you go where? Are you home?
So home tomorrow night, play Vancouver, then Nashville Monday.
There's that.
Chicago. Pardon?
Where's that? Nashville. In Nashville?
In Nashville. Last 3 out of the road. In Nashville Monday, in Chicago Wednesday, in Winnipeg Thursday.
Oh, okay. That's quite the trip. You said Winnipeg. When I said about you, woo-wee. That's
Beautiful.
It's interesting. My eyes were glued shut. Last 2 times I went there when I woke up, I just couldn't open my eyes.
Did you walk to the rink?
Through the walkway
Trip
from the
over?
hotel.
Did you trip over anyone?
No, from the hotel. Yeah, there's an interesting walk from the hotel. I love Winnipeg. I don't want to chirp Winnipeg. I feel like they're catching.
I think you just did.
I think they're catching on to that. Hey, all the best players stay there. They all sign there, so they must love it. I hear the owner treats the players very well, and it's a great atmosphere. They love their hockey there. So I told Steiner we're going to do he and Hofer. I said, listen, we're going to do a YouTube special. It's going to be called Sell Me on Winnipeg. And they're going to tell me what's going on in Winnipeg because they're Winnipeg natives. They tell me I got to go there in the summer. So I don't ever get to go there in the summer, though. So,
But not in May, because I think the black flies are pretty bad.
oh, I hear about those mosquitoes and stuff.
Yeah. I think it gets bad
I
in May.
hear that. I hear that. So I love Winnipeg, man. And they got a good team, and we'll see if they get in. And we'll see
Yeah.
if San Jose gets in. So thanks as always, Jammer. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you.
Likewise.
See ya.
Adios. All right, so that was Donnie Granato, Jamal Mayers. As always, First Community brings us Hockey Sense Youth Month. Man, I love this. April is Credit Union Youth Month at First Community. And the year Youth Month is all about sweet savings. So they got fun stuff for kids to do online and in their branches, plus a chance to win prizes. But as always, having any of their youth savings accounts means money for good grades, invitations to exclusive events, too. This is really cool, man. I love this youth program they have going on. So opening an account for your child or grandchild is a great way to teach kids the importance of saving money at an early age. Stop by your local branch for more information. Do that today. Lordo's Diamonds, again, right there in the heart of Ladue, 314-432-8008. Say hi to Mike and Jimmy Lordo. Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Get that free estimate. Get that new roof. You have any wind or hail damage, if we have bad weather, this is the guy to call. He loves hockey. He'll talk pucks with you. Support our sponsors, everybody. 314-920-5713 for David Novak. Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app today. Find the location nearest you for Dirt Cheap Fun Fun, your one-stop party shop. We love our friends over there at Dirt Cheap. Frontenac Detailing. Check that out right there in the Honda Frontenac dealership. Not affiliated with Honda Frontenac, but they have their space there. Get that car clean. Get that wax coating. Look them up online. Kirkwood Fence. Hackett Security. I love the fact that my family is secure with Hackett Security. Easy Tiger Cannabis. It's high potency. It's top shelf. Best quality cannabis on the market. EasyTigerAZ.com. Check out the website and do it today. All right, for Aiden, for Donnie Granato, for Jamal Mayers, I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next week, as always, for another edition of Hockey Sense live from Half Coast Studios. Have a great weekend, everybody.